Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Denisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. I asked Byron Britton to come on the show, not only because we're family friends, but also because I wanted you to see the man behind the car dealership. He is not the typical owner, and I think you're going to see that in my conversation with Byron. I hope you enjoy really getting to know him by listening to this conversation. Hey y'all, I'm Denisha Denny, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we are sitting down on the third floor at the landing at the Landmark on Lee Street with Mr. Byron Britton with Britton Chevrolet and Cadillac. How are you today, Byron?
I am great. How are you, Denisha?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me and us talking about your story.
Sure, my pleasure.
I know I had to kind of twist your arm a little when we were sitting at the football game and sitting at the basketball game, and you're like, now what are we doing?
Well, no, I knew what we were doing. I'm just an introvert by nature, so no, it's fine. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you agreed to. And I know you and I have had several conversations about you being an introvert, but really you're not. Whenever we really get to know you and we're sitting at those ball games with our boys, there is not an introvert in Byron Britton when it comes to those sports.
No, with my close friends, people that know me, I'm a lot more loose and outgoing.
Well, good. Well, this is what I want from you today. We're going to share your story with the people, and so people can see the way that all of your close friends, like our families, get to see you, because you have such a big heart, and you give back so much to the community, and you are so much about doing the right thing. So let's start off. I want to talk about, what do you love about Greenville? I know you're not from Greenville, but tell me what you love about Greenville.
You know, what I love is the people, because my wife and I grew up in Colorado, and when I was a teenager, moved to Idaho and met my wife, and we got married, and, you know, we saw our life of just staying there. We had family there, and then all of a sudden some things changed. We had an opportunity, and this little Chevy store in Greenville, Texas came open, and I remember we were here, and we were here as a interim basis at first, and we first drove in, and we had our little baby girl, and we were just driving around, and my wife was just like, where have we gone? Where is this? Well, one day, we'd probably been here a month, and we were driving around and just happened to drive out to Webb Hill Golf Course, because I'm a golfer, and so I don't know how we happened to drive there, but we did.
Did you work that into the day? Okay.
I did, but... And so we pulled in, and I told Misty, I said, let's just go check it out. And so probably everybody here knows Charles Randley. And he met us at the door and said, come on in. And he just was, you know, just so friendly and talking to us. And then I remember he said, hey, y'all follow me. Let me show you this. And he took us in a cart. And my wife and I, little girl at the time, and we followed him all through the golf course, and we stopped on number 8, and it's kind of the peak high point at Webb Hill, and it looks out over this really pretty hole. Yes. And the little lake on the right there. And he told me, he said he had been telling me the story of how him and Shirley came to Greenville. And he stopped, and he said, so I stopped right here, and I said, if you can't make it here, if you don't like this, something's wrong with you.
He's right about that.
He is. And then his wife gave Macy some cookies on the way out, and so that's just one of the examples of the people. Mm-hmm. And then we quickly met a whole lot of people at school, and just, you know, now we can't imagine not living here.
Right. Tell everyone where your kiddos go to school.
Greenville Christian School. So we started, it was funny, I joined Rotary, and they had somebody at Rotary speaking that day. And Macy was in 4th, we were still temporary. And
in your mind, that's what you were, is temporary.
Well,
still.
With General Motors, we were temporary,
okay.
And we didn't know if we were gonna be here or not. And so General Motors was working through a whole lot of legalities, and so they told us it'd probably be 30 days. So we were in the Holiday Inn Express, and
wow.
yeah, for the first 30 days we thought. Well, it ended up being a lot longer. So this was about our 6th month in the Holiday Inn Express, and Macy was a 4-year-old, and 4-year-olds have a lot of energy.
Yes.
And so I remember I would come home from work to the Holiday Inn Express.
To the Holiday Inn Express.
I would come home, and Misty would be at her wit's end with this 4-year-old, and she'd be like, take her. And so I would go, and I'd be tired. I'd go sit at the end of the hall with a tennis ball, and I'd play fetch with my 4-year-old in the Holiday Inn Express. And so I was at Rotary, and they said, talked about Greenville Christian School, and they had a pre-K, and she just needed to get out and get with other kids, and we put her in pre-K, and she just thrived and loved it, and so we stayed there.
When did you get out of the hotel?
So about 6 months into it, General Motors kept saying it'll probably be 30 more days. Well, at that point, Misty was about to go insane, and
Bless her
so
heart.
we went and rented a house then. And it wasn't because of the I'll tell you, I have lifelong friends from there. Miss Mary Merritt, I talked to her yesterday, and she's one of my best customers, and she always tells me, you're like family. They gave Macy Christmas gifts.
Oh.
Yes. And we were invited to her wedding, and so it was just going back to the people.
Right.
It's one of those things, and it's been a crazy ride.
That is a crazy ride. I had no idea you were in a hotel for 6
Yes.
months. Misty's never told me that. So she must have blocked those memories out.
I think she did. We were in the suite,
Okay.
but it wasn't that sweet.
But it wasn't that
Yeah,
sweet.
It was pretty small.
Wow. So did you want to stay then? When GM finally opened up that opportunity for you? Is that
Yes, because we had been here, it was 2 years as a temporary interim operator. And during those 2 years we really worked hard, and we saw this as really going well. And so, yes, we definitely wanted to stay. Because at the end of that, they had other opportunities, and we turned those down.
Okay, so you could have moved on, and
Yes.
you chose to stay here.
Yes.
Now, when you acquired it, it was still on Wesley Street.
It was.
Where the neighborhood Walmart is.
Yes, it was.
What time frame was that you
So
came in?
we came in at the very end of 2006. So 2007 was our first full year. And the way we were doing it, you have to get approved by General Motors, and we used them as our finance arm, and we had the minimum amount. So we were looking at smaller stores, and even smaller than this one. And when this one came up, there was some issues, and it needed fixed. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to buy a little larger store than we normally could have, but it was going to take some elbow grease. So we were just doing things and really working hard. And our first year, we thought we could see it going like this, and then 2008 hit.
Right.
And it was tough. By necessity, Misty worked in the office. Mm-hmm. We had Brady was just born, and so we had a baby crib at the dealership. And Macy and Brady, they kind of grew up there those first few years, because we had to be there, open to close, both of us. So it was tough. Looking back, how tough it was, if I had to do it again, I would probably say no, because it was hard.
It was hard.
But you can't replace those times. They really, we just grew, and we made it through, and so we feel like we can make it through whatever.
Absolutely. It develops so much grit
It
inside
does.
of you. And I'm sure the bond that you and Misty developed through that. And,
Yes.
I opened a real estate company in January of 2009, so I was in that trench with you. And, it's day by day, and you're trying to
Yes.
figure out how to make it work. And, have you found, though, because you made it through the recession during that season, going through COVID last year in 2020, it made it a little bit easier of knowing you'll get through it?
So in March, when everything just all of a sudden it shut down, we started having flashbacks. Oh my goodness, what are
Yes.
we going to do? But I'll tell you what made it so much better is our people. Mm-hmm. So just really the last 10 years, we have really good people. So yeah, it's so much easier when you have a whole bunch of good people on your team. Mm-hmm. and it's not just you.
That's right. Well, your theme keeps coming back to people. It's the people that make up Greenville for you, but also the people that work for you. And I can give a huge shout out to Eric in the service department. He always takes care of me every time I'm going in.
So Eric started out with us. I mean, he was young. I don't know how old he was, probably a teenager, I'm guessing. But he started out with us as the lot person, just the person that ran errands and moved cars and washed cars. And it's really the hardest job at the dealership, one of the hardest jobs, because you have 20 bosses, everybody telling you what to do. And so he was the lot guy.
Wow.
And Eric's a good guy. He helped me one weekend put up a backyard playground for my kids.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the type of people.
Right.
And so, early on, I started at a dealership when I was 21, and it was a great store in Idaho. We had great people. There was nothing. I mean, it was a small store, so it was repeat customers, and I thought that was everywhere. Every place was like that. Well, when I came here, I figured out the car business can be rough, and I didn't understand it. I just thought everybody's a good people. And I made my fair share of hiring mistakes, But you figure it out, and then you find those good people who are like you, and then we have really awesome people, and we're very selective because I don't want to be in the sales department. I don't want to be pressured. I don't want to be
right.
I don't want the back and forth stuff. I don't want to, and we're not perfect, but if you can find those people that are like-minded, then it makes it a lot easier.
That's one of the things I've always appreciated about buying a vehicle from you. Like, we don't have to go deal with the tower and there's not all this haggling. You're upfront and honest and like, this is the price and this is what we can do. And it's always a fair price. And in the past, I would leave a car dealership and feeling like, I just got taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But all of these years, I've never felt that way leaving your store.
Yeah, so I got in the car business kind of on accident. I'd gone to college and, I loved college. I just didn't like the classes. And
so, you liked everything else college provided?
I was a good kid, but I just wasn't, I was kind of a late bloomer as far as maturity and what I wanted to do with my life. So I had no idea. And so I got a summer job one year, and, it's hard being a car salesman, but this particular store, they kind of let me be me, and I had a whole lot of people, thanks to my parents living in town there, that I got to deal with them the way I would deal with them, and not necessarily the old-fashioned way. And so I didn't have, I worked hard, but it was relationship.
Is that how you developed it? Like,
they
let you be you, and so you learned how to build trust with people and just being honest with them.
Yes, and so, I'm not a salesman. That's
true. You could have sold me a car so many times if you were, but you've always wanted it to be the right car at the right time.
Yeah, I am not a salesperson, but I can be a friend, and I can give you my best advice, and so that's how I did it when I was a salesman. And then at that store in Idaho, I just kind of moved up because there's opportunities if you stay, as long as you're there and you're working hard, there's always an opportunity. So they'd plug me in when there was an opportunity, and I just kind of moved up, and then one thing led to another, and here we are in Greenville, Texas.
So when you went to college, you didn't know this is what you'd end up being when you grew up.
People get into the car business. There's technicians, service department. Those people, they might get into the car business on purpose, but nobody is a car salesman on purpose. You come to a point in your life and you're needing a job, and that's available, and and I'm lucky it worked out.
It did work out. It did. So I love that you said they let you be you, because so many times in sales, managers and people in those positions don't allow that in salespeople. And so I love that you got to do that. But what made you you? Was there a person in your life growing up that made you you? Like, where did your core come from?
It's probably my parents. I think we're all, having kids, that they're so different.
Yes.
My older brother was just driven, worked hard all his life, and I was one to play, and I was always easygoing, just nothing got to me. And So I definitely have a personality that is mine, but my parents, raised us right, I think. And so.
Just gave you those core values.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about you and Misty. How did you guys meet?
So I moved to Idaho, or my parents moved to Idaho when I was a teenager, and we didn't meet right off. We met later after I'd started working at the dealership, and her family went to our church, and so that's how we met.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how you met. I knew you didn't grow up really anywhere close to one another.
We didn't. But her family in Idaho, I mean, she's third generation, and anytime there was every week that seemed like there was a birthday celebration for somebody, aunts, uncles, cousins, just a big family. She went to the same school that her grandpa went to, and had some of the same teachers and that her parents had. And so she had all that built-in support. And then we just moved to Texas, and it was gone. And so the first few years here was a struggle because we were completely on our own. It was the Great Recession, and sometimes we thought, what have we done? Why did we move here?
I'm sure.
It was tough, but you look back on all that, and it was a time of growing, and it all was meant to be.
It strengthened you, for sure.
For sure.
It's sometimes hard if you stay in the same hometown that you grew up in. When you get married, it's sometimes hard to go and build that relationship.
Yeah.
So moving across the country down south really made you have to grow together.
It did. Made you grow
It was a make
together
or
and grow
break.
up. Yeah, it was.
And
I mean, there was
growing up.
times we struggled like every other car dealership then. I mean, we were the whole industry was off like 60% or something. Some enormous number. And there was dealerships, if you remember, going out of business that had been in business for years. And here we'd been in business 1 year. And there were times where I remember we'd talking to our family, and they would say, why don't you just come home? Just, throw in the towel and come home. And because it was that tough. And it was almost month to month there for a while. Misty's the one, I was ready to go because it was so stressful. Misty's the one who said, no, we have to stay because really, she said, the Lord's not, if he tells us it's time, then it's time. And so she's the one who said, no, we're staying until we're done.
Wow.
Because
that gives me chills.
It does. Me too.
Because I know your faith.
Because
and
as a guy, you're looking at, like, I got to provide for my family. And so this investment you invest, we could have cut some of it back, maybe a third or something. But if we just kept going and losing, there would come a point in time where you don't have anything. And she's the one I was ready to like, okay, let's go, let's cash out because this is not working. But she's the one who said, we're going to either lose it all and fail, or we're going to make it.
I love that.
She's the one.
That is so cool.
She's the rock.
She is a rock. I know I get to work with her at the school, with our kiddos, and she is so firm in her foundation and her faith and walk with the Lord. And she takes the time to pray about it and really listen for his word and before she makes a decision.
Yeah, I think when you go through stuff like that, that's what builds all that.
It does.
And then
and that's great that you listen to her, because you are the man of the house. You are making all of these decisions. And that just shows what a team you really became.
Yeah, she's
during
the
that
one.
Season.
For me, I'd moved several times as a kid, and I think it's easier for a guy to move somewhere. I mean, it wasn't that big a deal. I can move wherever. If I have my family, I can be happy. Right. It was a big deal for her. It was tough.
She's so close to her family, especially her mom.
Yes, her mom and her sister. They talk on the phone about 7 times a day.
You have to interrupt every now and then.
Yes. But
now, does Misty still work in the business today?
So yes is the short answer, but not at the level she did. Once our kids started really in school age and activities and sports and everything, we were fortunate she was able to kind of pull out a little bit of the day to day. But she is a extrovert, social person, and she loves all that. So being in Rotary and being involved in things like that on our behalf is kind of what she does.
It's a great balance for the two of you.
It is. She's wonderful.
So I knew her. I didn't even know you had been in Rotary. I'm in Rotary also, and Misty's in Rotary, but I didn't realize she filled your shoes for that, it sounds like.
She did. So as soon as I could get her plugged in there and me step back, that was the right thing to do.
You figured out how to do that, Byron.
I did. Yeah.
Well, there's another hat that you wear. You are the school board president for Greenville Christian School.
Yeah, that kind of happened the same way as the car business, just kind of accidental. And but I don't know anything about running a school, but we have a lot of good guys on there that and we have great people at the school, great staff that make it easy. And so yeah, it's a fun thing.
How long have you been on the school board now?
I don't even know.
I feel like you've been there.
I know.
At least been on the board.
I need
if
to
not
get
president
off.
For a long
I need
time.
I need to pull back and let somebody else go. But
I think you've done a great job, though. It's a hard thing to manage.
it is hard.
It's really hard. And Dakin being on the school board as well, it is hard. It's a lot to think through. Trying to make the best decisions for everyone. Seeing where God is leading us.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say about GCS, Greenville Christian School, is it's sometimes people perceive it as it's a private school. I'm telling you, our school is full of working parents who sacrifice to put their kids there, and it's just a really great family. It's where we met our lifelong friends.
It really is. And I do think sometimes people who aren't familiar with Greenville Christian sometimes view it as it's a privileged school, and it's really not. And, just like our family, we drive 2 vehicles that are paid for, but that's because we're choosing to invest in our children to be there, to have that Christian background and Christian education. And just like the teachers, they're not there because the paycheck's a big paycheck. They're there because they genuinely, wholeheartedly love the students.
So when Macy was in, I think, 3rd grade, she had a speech competition in 3rd grade.
In 3rd grade.
I thought, goodness, I would never have made it as a kid, because I couldn't even imagine that. But so, and she'd gone on to the next level. And so I went with her. For some reason, Misty was, I don't know where she was, but so we drove to this other town, and I could tell she was a little bit, I was nervous. I mean, that's a big deal trying to get up there, and the 3rd graders had to have their little speech memorized.
Yes.
And so I asked her kind of right before it was her turn, and I said, "Are you nervous?" And she said, "No." And I said, because I was so nervous. I said, "How come you're not nervous?" And she said, "Because my teacher's praying for me. She told me she'd be praying for me at 11 o'clock, and I mean, that's just the way those teachers are, and they, they have that interaction with your kid, and they hug them, and they treat them like their own. So it's a pretty great place just for that.
It is. Oh, that
and
just
now
gives
that
me chills.
now she's a freshman in college.
Yes.
And when she calls us and telling us about this class or that class, she's already had a semester under her belt, and she says, "Dad, it is so easy. Mrs. Griner's class was way harder at GCS," and so they're well prepared. That's
great feedback. Now, where did she go to college? Tell everyone where she went.
So she's a University of Georgia Bulldog.
All right.
So when we were kind of putting our foot in the water about buying a dealership, General Motors kind of put us with a dealer as a mentoring dealer. And he was in Idaho, and then halfway through our mentor time, he bought a store in Athens, Georgia. And so that was our first giant move. So we went from Idaho to Georgia. I mean, culture shock, everything. But the reason we went is because this dealer, he was very, very good to me. And he said, "You can come with me. You can be general manager, and you can..." He says, "I need you," because he doesn't know anybody there. So he needs somebody he can count on. But he also said, "You can experience what it's like going into a dealership brand new from day one." And so we got that experience there, had lifelong friends that we met there. And when we moved to Texas, some of our friends there that we'd go back and see, every year or so. And we'd go in the fall when there was a football game. And so as the kids grew up, we'd go back to Georgia for a weekend or something in the fall, and we'd go to a football game. And so Macy grew up thinking it was the greatest place in the world. Inadvertently, we didn't mean to do that, but yeah. So when she was a freshman, we started asking her, "Have you thought about college?" What do you mean? Have I thought about it? Yeah, I'm going to Georgia. So,
I know. I heard her say that all through her high school career. She was going to Georgia, and I thought, is she really? Sometimes kids dream, but she made that happen.
She did.
And I know that's to be so hard on Misty's heart. We were looking at basketball schedules. She's like, I'm trying to go see Macy. Where am I going to put this in my schedule?
Yeah, it's tough on Misty. Macy is just a go-getter, and she'd go across the world, and it wouldn't faze her. But it's tough on Mama being that far away.
But you know what? Y'all raised her right. She's a great girl.
And the reason it really works out is because we have this support network of our old friends, the church she goes to, the old dealer that I mentored under. They're all there, and if she needs, she doesn't lack for anything. They're always calling her, taking her to dinner, and so it's a good place for her.
That gives you peace of mind for sure. All right, Byron, I asked you to pick a number between 1 and 20 earlier before we got started. And the number we decided on was 20.
Yep.
Here's your question.
All right.
What is the smartest thing you have ever done?
Oh, married Misty.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yep, that's easy. Without her, we wouldn't be here. Oh. She's the one she's the saver. I'm the spender. She's the one that just is the rock. And so, yeah, that's easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Man, this will get you out of the
she's
doghouse
watching.
for a while.
I know.
Well, you guys have a wonderful story. Thank you so much for all of the things you do and the way that you give back to our community. I know you contribute financially significantly into our community, but also your time and what you do for the school and for Greenville. And I'm very proud to know you and be able to call you and Misty friends. And I know our boys love doing life together too. And
Yes.
we just got to keep them out of jail between here and there.
Yes. Well, it's been my pleasure, and y'all are great friends, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Byron.
All right.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.